and welcome to Ivory Library. I am Ivy, or Ivy May, and today, to start off 2025, we are going to be doing a reading vlog together. I have had this book on my TBR for a very, very long time, and I've been meaning to read it for a very, very long time, and it is Verity by Colleen Hoover. I personally am not a fan of Colleen Hoover's work. I've read a lot of her novels, and I have not liked one of them. I've read Ugly Love, It Ends With Us, It Starts With Us, November 9th, and then Reminders of Him, I think is what it's called. So it's not from lack of trying. Like, I've given Pookie multiple chances to impress me, and every single time we've fallen short and made me extremely uncomfortable. With saying that, it gives me a lot of hope for this, because if Colleen Hoover can make me that uncomfortable trying to write a romance story, a very, very long time ago, back when I want to say my first ever book account, which is no longer existing, don't go looking for it, it's not out there, guys. One of my friends on a Discord server actually recommended this to me and said that I would really, really like it, so I bought it back then. Literally has been sitting on my shelf for like 4 years now, I think. Probably 5 actually, because I think it was before we went into lockdown. I'm not sure when this was published, y'all. I'm sure Editing Ivy will let you know. We're just getting around to it now. I wanted to start the year off with a bang, and I thought, what better way to do it than a popular book that everyone knows and loves that I've not read and will give me views. No, I'm kidding. I just actually really wanted to get it off my shelf, and I was in the mood for a psychological thriller because I was originally going to read this one at the end of last year, but I ended up reading Brooke Hardwick's The Fog instead, which Mum currently has. She's on holidays with it because I enjoyed it that much that I was like, read my book. Alright, speaking of Editing Ivy, hello, it is I. I lost a lot of the footage of this section. It got corrupted. I don't really know what happened anyway. But pretty much I just went over the trigger warnings for Verity, which is all these. So I don't really explicitly go into detail about them during this video, but for your heads, that's what you need to be aware of. And let's do this. Alright guys, I'm just having a bit of a check-in. I am this far through the book. I don't know if you probably can't see that. It's right there. Which is chapter 5, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I'm not hating it. I'm not. It's not the best written thing I've ever read, particularly psychological thriller wise. It is what it is, in all honesty. I feel like this is a bad book to have read off the back of reading The Fog by Brooke Hardwick, just because they're very, very similar content wise. Like, they're both about authors that are kind of like losing their marbles a little bit. However, I really, really was enthralled by Brooke's, like, from the get-go. The first chapter I was there. I can't really say the same for this. I get why people read it, like, I genuinely do. It's an easy read, like, I'm churning through it like a crazy person, but also not something I would have picked up for myself. I also, and this might just be me, I'm not attached to any of these characters. I don't care, and it makes me uncomfortable. This is a slight spoiler, but not really. It makes me uncomfortable that she read Verity's biography about her husband and herself. Like, it was just a sex scene. That's not your business. That's not the book that you're writing. Don't touch that. And also, I'm starting to realize with Colleen Hoover's writing, these bitches just horny. They're so horny. Everybody just wants to shag everything that's moving. Like, why am I reading a psychological thriller and on page, I think it was like 73 or something, there's a graphic sex scene. Well, not graphic, but there's a sex scene. I'm reading a psychological thriller. I want to read about people getting dismembered and really weird shit. Like, I don't want to read that. If I wanted to read that, I would read Ugly Love. Don't even get me started on that book. But yeah, so I'm not hating it. I'm giving it like maybe like a 2.5 out of 5. Like, it's not bad. I don't really like it, but it's not bad. Actually, I will say that I am invested. Like, I want to pick it up and I want to see what happens. So I'll give her that. As much as I'm not enjoying it, it's like I need to read it to know what happens. Yo, what? What the fuck? Ew! Ew! No! Ew. A psychological thriller. I want to read about people getting dismembered. That actually physically made me ill. Disgusting. And like, this is the thing. I read so much psychological thriller and so much horror. That was ill. That was unnecessary, disgusting, ill. Verity, you're disgusting. Die. It is check-in time. I'm in my jammy pants. They're called penguins on them. But I am officially just over halfway through Verity. I'm up to chapter 14. We have had a lot of developments, y'all. I am low-key invested. I said in my last clip that like it's not well written. It's not badly written. I don't know how to explain my thoughts around Verity so far. I feel like part of me just wants to hate it because it's Colleen Hoover and I really don't vibe with her, but I will admit that I am actually enjoying this book. My one complaint is that I feel like I get why it's necessary to the storyline, but I feel like it is too sexually driven for a psychological thriller. I'm also very confused how I'm at chapter 14. We've not really had anything psychologically thrilling yet. See, I'm at 181. I'll mathemize how much I have to go. I'm enjoying it. I genuinely am, but I feel like I was expecting it to be more, I don't want to say like spooky, but I think I was expecting it to be more spooky than it is. Like, I can get why it's a psychological thriller, like it handles some really tough topics, but also like as somebody who reads this genre a lot, it feels like somebody dipped their toes in the water and just didn't take the dive, in my opinion. I really, really like Jeremy's character. I hope he ends up the way that I'm hoping he does. I feel like Lowen's a bit conceited. I don't know enough about Verity's character to not like her. I mean, like, we're reading her autobiography, but like that doesn't necessarily guarantee anything, in all honesty. I know that there's some great big plot twist. I will say end of chapter 6 was a bit ill. Like I've read similar content before, but it was just written in a really disturbing way, but not like a psychological thriller disturbing way. Like it was just uncomfy to read. So trigger warning for that. I mean, obviously trigger warnings for this whole book, and as always I will put them on the screen as I do with every single reading vlog that I do. But I will say I could probably recommend better psychological thrillers than this, but also like I'm so inclined to read it and pick it up, so I'm really interested to see if the ending, like I'm settling into it quite nicely. I'm starting to care more about the characters and everything about all of that. I have like a really strong visual image of how this universe looks in my brain, and that's always a good sign. Yeah, I can totally get why people suggested this to me. Like, if this wasn't written by Colleen Hoover, I probably would have no qualms with it, in all honesty. And I'm just being dead set honest right now. I would have probably, if this was like, I don't know, written by Stephen King or something, I'd be like, fuck yeah, awesome novel, loved it. That's the reality. That's why when you are an influencer or a person in the media, it is so important that you, I guess, like, I don't want to say present yourself in a good way because that sounds bad. Like, I don't want to say that Colleen Hoover's a bad person. I just don't like a lot of the topics that she writes about in romance novels, and it really makes me not like her as a person. Like, I don't like when things that shouldn't be romanticized are romanticized. In a psychological thriller, it's different. It's meant to be a psychological thriller, but when you're writing a romance novel and you touch on those things, I don't like that. You have a platform where you need to be really, really aware of how you're touching on those things, and a lot of the time I feel like it can come across quite diluted and conceited, at least where I've read it, but in this one it makes sense. romance. I also think that Lowen has a really interesting voice, but I will say that as somebody that's read a lot of her other work, it doesn't sound any different than any of the other voices of her main characters. I just think it suits this book more. That's where I'm at. I'm enjoying it. We'll see. I'm planning on finishing it today. I've got about like 10 chapters left, I think, and then I'll let you guys know. I'll probably check in along the way. So I'm hoping that this will be the one Colleen Hoover book that I actually enjoy. Let's keep going. I was expecting that, but I wasn't expecting that. I didn't think that he'd outright tell her that he was the one that read her book. If you'll know, you know. This is another thought. If all of her romance novels were written as well as Lowen and Jeremy in this, they're cute. They're cute. Little found family moment. I love it. But no, they're not. They're poo. Y'all, this is so funny. Chapter 16 starts with, "It's been another week of reading Verity's manuscript and I'm bored. I'm finding it repetitive. Chapter after chapter of detailed sex with Jeremy." At least she's self-aware. I'll give you that, Colleen Hoover. We got our first Ookie Kooky Spooky. I'm all for this, yo. If Verity... Is that a spoiler? I might bleep that. But if... Because dead set, that'll save this book for me. First Ookie Kooky Spooky, and I'm like, hee. But also, why am I reading psychological thriller? And it was at page 217. Okay, so I am at chapter 20 now. If you did that to your child, why would you write that in an autobiography? Why? Yo, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't like when books are illogical. That doesn't make any sense. Like, even if you are like Dexter levels of fucked up, you don't see Dexter being like, yeah, I put the body in the freaking punching bag. Like, what do you mean? Bro, yeah, whatever. No! She's getting left alone with Verity, oh no. Y'all, if they don't end up together after all that fucking drama, I'm spewing. I can't believe I'm so invested in this damn novel. What the fuck? Also, I'm sorry, but if that was the big plot twist that was meant to happen, that was underwhelming. Y'all, I was bamboozled. It was not her acknowledgements. It was a letter from Verity. Let's chat about it. Alright, my lovely bookworms, I have finished Verity. I don't even actually really know what to say. Like, it wasn't a bad book. I felt the ending was a bit underwhelming. I feel like it had like such a great plot twist with the ending of like Verity and Jeremy's storyline. Like, that was really, really cool. I thought that was like... Let's start with what I liked about Verity. I think it was a very atmospheric read. I was very enthralled and I could really easily visualize the world that I was reading. I absolutely loved Jeremy's character and the end of his storyline is so fascinating. Oddly enough, I actually really liked Lowen. I thought she was very, I guess, I don't want to say like an unreliable narrator, but like she is an unreliable narrator, but so is Verity. Like, if you understand, you understand. I don't really want to spoil anything because like it is decent, and if you want to read it, but I don't know if the stuff that I enjoyed outweighed the stuff that I didn't enjoy. I felt like for a psychological thriller, it was very sexual, and I mean, like, it was a lot of the chapters are written about sex, and just because you add a line in at the end doesn't negate that fact. And I feel like time that was spent writing sex scenes could have been used to build that atmosphere, because there is such an eerie and awesome world in this novel, but it's not utilized. As well as that, I felt like it was a bit shallow at times. Like, I just feel like a lot of it was wasted. Like, there was a lot of potential for this novel to be phenomenal. I actually did enjoy it, but I would have enjoyed it more had it been refined more. Or written by somebody that actually writes psychological thriller. If this was written by Brooke Hardwick, David Strathairn, like I said, Stephen King, this book would be perfect. The concept is phenomenal. The idea of this book is wonderful. I just think the execution falls a bit short, and you can tell that Colleen Hoover is primarily a romance author. It is good for what it is, but I wish there'd been more to it. I also feel like I was kind of at like this point here, and I was feeling a bit like, how are we gonna wrap this all up? And the ending was very abrupt and very rushed. Also feel like valid to have Jeremy react that way, but also are we just gonna ignore the fact that like that makes you just as bad as Verity, even if she didn't do it or she did do it? Interesting life choice. Interesting life choice, guys. I will say that I felt like it was like a double plot twist. Like, it's like you had me, and I was like, damn, that's a great freaking, well, it wasn't necessarily a plot twist, like we saw it coming, but it was still really, really cool. But then when you whip out the letter from Verity at the end, it kind of ruins the whole novel. It's like Jeepers Creepers when you find out that it's not actually like a serial killer. It's just underwhelming, and it negates the whole point of the story. Like, let her be a psychopath, you know? What makes Verity's character successful is because you spend the whole novel thinking she is this awful person, and it makes it way more of a successful psychological thriller if she is allowed to be that person. And I feel like it really took away from my connection to that character, and like you build the character up in your brain to be a specific way, and then to switch it around, like, it just doesn't make sense. And yes, okay, she, like, it was a writing exercise, but bro, I'm telling you, I'm an author, and never in a million years, even if I wrote like the most fucked up novel in the world, would I ever fake writing something about my own kids like that. And I suppose like that's the whole point, is that like Colleen Hoover's leaving it open for interpretation, but also I just feel like that was so unnecessary. And so overall, I'm gonna give it a 3. As far as Colleen Hoover goes, this is by far the best book that I've read by her. Moral of the story, Colleen Hoover needs to stop writing romance, start writing psychological thrillers, stop writing sex scenes, start writing psychological thrillers instead of torture porn, because I feel like she could actually get somewhere. With saying that, thank you so much for watching. Genuinely am embarrassed that this was the first book that I read in 2025. I just thought about that. That's on the Goodreads forever. Oh, speaking of, follow me on Goodreads. I would love to have some friends on there. With saying that, this is the end of the vlog. Thank you so much for watching. Please go have a glass of water, brush your teeth, tell yourself that you love yourself in the mirror, because it's very important stuff. I adore you, I love you, and I'll see you next time. Happy reading, bookworms! Oh, and please don't forget to subscribe and follow me on all my social medias. It really helps. Let me know if you've read Verity down in the comments too. I want to know what you thought about it. Also, one last thing. Look at the chicken.